What happens when there is no economy left? What happens when the wells run dry? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you in today's video. We are going to look at this. We are going to investigate what happens when there's nothing left, when we have hit a point of no return, when we simply can't dig ourselves out of this mess. Any more analogies you want to use? Look, let me show you. You've got Jamie Dimon here. This guy has been talking about a recession and talking about an economy that is suffering for, basically since 2020. He's been out there constantly talking about it. And now this, JP Morgan, CEO Dimon, says US economy is booming. I thought to myself, are you sure that's what he said? Because he's been saying the exact opposite thing for all this time. Look, this is what he said. The US economic boom is unbelievable. Even if we go into recession, the consumer is still in good shape. Can you believe this? He's saying that the economy is booming, and yet we could go into a recession. Well, what are you talking about? How could you be in a recession if everything is not just okay, it's fantastic? Does that make any sense? Of course, he's talking about the politics. He's talking about all the things that don't matter. But looking at this, it's just suggesting that I'm at a loss for words. Okay, so when we see these type of things, we have to start understanding where they're coming from. A lot of their messaging is simply propaganda. It's simply, hey, I got a company here, I got to protect it, or, I'm part of this political party, so this is the kind of thing that we say, and that needs to be understood. So never just take one of these guys' messages as, face value. We need to understand what's going on at a deeper level. Now, the one place I love to look is not just the Federal Reserve's actions, but also their words. Of course, once again, I don't just take them at face value, but they're important. And you can see Fed's Bostic open to a rate hike if inflation progress stalls. What do we see prior to this? Several members of the FOMC, not just people at the Fed or former people at the Fed. We're talking about FOMC members, people that vote. And they're talking about not being confident with inflation, not being confident. And that's really important because that was part of all of their messages prior. They said, we need the confidence, we need more confidence. And then suddenly they turn around using the same word, but saying, we don't have the confidence. And so that's an important distinction. And that means they are not ready to cut today. Today. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? It all depends on inflation and lucky, how are they ever going to get inflation to come down if they actually can't control the prices? I mean, it's impossible. You let the genie out of the bottle. You could see here, he's saying if inflation stalls out or even starts moving in the opposite direction away from our target, I don't think it will have any option but to respond to that. If it seems that the level of restrictiveness that we're at today is not enough to do the job or get the job done, then I'd be open to increasing rates. Now, they're asking him in such a way, that makes him kind of say that. But of course, they want to make it known. And it's not just inside the Fed, where we're talking about this and the difficulties that are being experienced. But in the case of the ECB, what they have said is we think we have confidence. So they're a little bit more confident. Now, maybe it starts to resurge later, but one problem that Europe definitely has is that there just isn't that demand there, okay? It is deflating. Like the natural course of things is deflation. And so, they can print a whole bunch of money, they can throw a bunch of cash out there, and they could try to do their best to reverse that. They certainly have done a good job of that, printing up trillions and trillions of dollars and buying up the bonds of the biggest companies in Europe. That's kind of a fair way to do it, right? Right, everybody? Yeah. Okay. There were two clear messages. Expect a June cut, but beware of the spillover effects from the Middle East. So we'll see what happens on that front, of course, knowing that these kind of things, they tend to drag on. Look at the case of Russia, right? So, just let me show you this. Christine Lagarde, she said, we just need to build a bit more confidence in this disinflationary process. But if it moves according to our expectations, if we don't have a major shock in development, we are headed towards a moment where we would have to moderate the restrictive monetary policy. What does that mean? Cut interest rates. That's it. That's all. They love to use the jargon. They love to use that word confidence. Remember, I said that confidence. And certainly, they would love to cut interest rates if they could. Okay. They want to go back into the negative. Maybe we'll get there. We'll see. Okay. Just saying, barring a major surprise, we should cut rates because we're now confident enough. There's large consensus. So in Europe, depending on where you're looking, they're starting to say, hey, this is important that we tackle this now before we get to the point in which we've done too much damage. All right. They're ignoring the fact that they all printed up money. But anyway, the point is, where they're going is that they're trying to achieve confidence. I'm just trying to show you what's happening in Europe as well. And then, of course, we have Bank of Canada. Oh my goodness, I have nothing good to say. But anyway, looking at this is hilarious. I mean, Canada's a lost cause. So Tiff Macklem, who is the equivalent of Jerome Powell, right, says that central banks will make monetary policy decisions geared towards their own economies, which means that some countries may begin cutting interest rates before others. We've all been resolute in our commitment to restore price stability, and we match those words with action that has helped us all bring inflation down. As we enter the next phase of disinflation, countries may progress at different speeds. That's great. Ultimately, we gear monetary policy decisions to our own domestic circumstances, saying, look, we're not going to look at what's going on in Europe. We're not going to look at the Fed. We are simply going to react to what's happening inside of Canada. Now, that would be fantastic if true, but look at what's going on with real estate over the past few years. Look at rent prices. Look at energy prices. Look at food prices. You see what's going on. More and more is being extracted out of you. Your disposable income has disappeared, or it's on the way out. You can see this. Yes, inflation has slowed, but business is still paying the price, and so are you. They're telling us that inflation, oh, don't worry, everybody, inflation's going down. Yeah, okay. Well, look at some examples here. If you're manufacturing right now, which of course not many people are, but if you're in the manufacturing business, and for me, I'm dealing with this, okay? You're paying 11% more for plastic and resins, 24% more for industrial gases, 23% higher for prices of machinery and equipment, 35% additional cash for the oil and the grease that lubricates the machines, and it goes on and on. What about this? If you're in the construction, good news, lumber prices are down. Hey, 25%, right? But has been more than offset by a rise in iron and steel, cement and concrete, staples, nails, spikes, 20, 30%, 40%. Construction material costs have increased 30% over the last few years. Food manufacturing and services also feeling the pain. Costs have risen 24% over the past few years. Fertilizer's up. Okay? On and on and on. Okay? You can see all that. Everything's up. Everything is up. It's not up 3%. It's not 3%, and it isn't 4% either. It's up a heck of a lot more. Do you see what's happening here? They are lying to us, bold-faced lies about the inflation rates. And quite frankly, the number doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What does matter is how much disposable income you have. That's the real key. You've got your mortgage or rent. You've got your car, if you got a car. You've got your food and energy. That's it. Everything else, if you want to buy a new iPhone or whatever, that's insignificant. Okay? What I see is people that simply do not have money anymore, and now they're dipping into debt. They are doing whatever they can to try and pull themselves out of a dark time. But I have unfortunate news. If you're willing to accept it, I'm willing to give now. Okay. The situation we have today is going to be uh, classified as the good days, the good old days. This is my way of telling you that you better get your stuff in order because it's about to get a lot more difficult. Now, you might think, hey, if we get this president, this prime minister, this politician, this person in control, then things are going to be resolved. And I can tell you that they absolutely will not be. They might get better, the burn might be slower, but it doesn't work like that. Canada is seeing domestic and foreign investors pull their cash. Okay, Canada's net flow of international securities, the balance of money flowing into capital markets. If the net flow is negative, more capital left than arrived. And that's what's happening here. And it actually will get a lot worse. As you can see over, a several year period, what's going to happen inside of Canada is largely the same of other places as well. People do not want to invest in a place that's going down. Why would you do that? Why would you even, if you're Canadian, why would you even leave your assets all in a country that is going for worse and worse trajectory? There might be pockets and you could do that. Depends on what your business is, depends on what you're doing, but you got to realize that and you got to be honest about yourself. Okay. What's next? Well, I'm seeing a few things. And this is why I'm telling you that the next 5 years is a very difficult period. Another case of shrinkflation at Ontario grocery store has people talking. So basically, long story short, it went from, a one size bag, then it gets smaller of the raspberries. Okay, they're just showing you one example. You've seen it many times before. They're shrinking it. And in France, actually, they're ordering retailers to display their shrinkflation. So, hey, you shrunk that product over the last few months. You have to have that on the label. They're making it a fact. Now, that doesn't change anything. You're still going to pay, let's say it's $10 for half the amount. You're still paying $10 at the end of the day. Okay, you're aware of it. But, if you were used to something and now you're getting less, I mean, you're going to be aware of it if your stomach is not full, right? Like, I mean, what are you going to do about that? We got the robots. This is showing us robots that are going to take over household tasks. In this one here, we're talking about Walmart making changes and other retailers as well. But they're just talking about the self checkout and what's happening here, how they're dealing with it. All these different companies are dealing with it. There's a lot of theft and so on. This is all important stuff because we are going towards a robotics and automation and everything, and you see the changes that are happening right before our very eyes. So we're moving towards that. We're moving towards less services and we're moving towards higher prices. Think about that where you are today. Think about all the prices of stuff that you pay. Think about all the services that you get. You're going to get less services and you're going to pay a higher price for them. You got to understand this. And as a result of it, what can you do? You're not just going to sit there. You're not a rock. Okay. You're not a rock that's just going to be laying there. You have the chance to move. You got legs. You can do that. And so you have to start taking action wherever it is you can. You can make an income on the side. You can start to do things, whatever that is for you. What skills do you have? Utilize the skills you have to start bringing in an income. Look, when I started to monetize this channel, and the monetization is going backwards, by the way. But anyway, I'm at, I think 20, probably the same amount I was making back in 2014 or something. Anyway, doesn't matter. This channel here, when I started it, 65, I think the first day I didn't turn monetization off on the first day I started the channel, but the first day I started monetization, I was making 65 cents. 65 cents. And I thought to myself, this is great. At some point, it's going to pay my cell phone bill. And I just kept going. And I didn't let that stop me, the fact that it was 65 cents. I just kept going, knowing that soon that's going to be 75 cents and then 85. And that's how it was. And I just kept going. And I've made thousands upon thousands upon thousands of videos trying to share the information that I have. Whatever you want to do, use the skills that you have today. You can acquire new skills. That's fantastic. But you can also use the skills you have today to monetize them. Look, if you are interested in getting the know-how, if you want the deeper insights, then I have my live classes. This is where I need you to be able to have 2 hours with me on Friday. And there's the 2 hours on Sunday to be able to dive deep into this information that we just can't get to on a YouTube video. Okay, it's totally different. It looks nothing. It's presentation based, and I create a presentation every week for the Friday class, and I create a separate presentation for the Sunday class. We got Q&A. We got all the details right down in that link below. If you appreciate this information, before you go, hit that thumbs up button. I'm gonna go see Janet Yellen. I'll see you later.